So basically, what'd you do out here today?
Okay, so I'm a certified and insured drone pilot. I have real jobs, 2 real jobs. I have a real fun job and a fun real job. So this is my real fun job. I showed for the Parks Department just some of the drone features, as well as how to operate, some education around the sort of regulations that are out there for flyers, more of like rules of the road or air, you could say. That's kind of just to give a little demo.
What's your hope, I guess? You presented this, I think it was mentioned maybe there was some nervousness about more regulations coming in.
Well, I think that's the elephant in the room, right? Is what do drones? Are drones going to be evasive? Are people going to do things terrible, unlawful with them? I think a drone isn't any as evasive as somebody with a cell phone. As far as I'm concerned, they're not quiet. I think that's the whole understanding. Is I met with Pat because Pat seen my work around town for some of the businesses and called me in and asked if I could do on a previous meeting to come in and kind of get a little background information. So I think that there is a growing and trying to understanding to catch up to it, and I think that's the growing question.
Now earlier he asked you if you were basically he was like if you were in my position in the city council position, what would be your opinion? And you had gone on to say that there has been an issue in the area. So if you are in their position, what would you say?
Well, there hasn't been a major issue in the area. I mean, ultimately, the only way to get a hand around it is if you could find a way to like penalize somebody for doing something wrong. But then the person penalizing has to be more knowledgeable than the person doing it. So you get to that common grounds of who was wrong, who was right. So I really don't think until there is a big problem that you can just get rid of them, because that's what people can do. Because that's really the only thing is we're going to give you X amount of fine for flying your drone. I've come up with ideas of possibly like a permit system. If you want to fly in a city or state park, you fill out a permit and they give you or sell you a certain block of time for you to operate and fly in there. Then they know where you're going to be, they know how you're going to be there, they know you're paying for it, so you're going to be a little bit more responsible. They have your name, they have your information. So that was something I brought up to the DNR about state parks. Is you can't fly in any state park in Wisconsin. There's one state park you can fly in legally, because of course, what's a park? A park is a place for the public to go. Well, if these things are whizzing in the air, I mean, I would be just like anybody else. But there are areas of the parks that they're selling for like weddings that people want to start hiring for like drone operators to come do weddings. Well, we can't because of that reason. So that's the same thing. And the state parks took that stop that said you just can't fly. That's what they did. And I don't believe that's right, but that's the way that they handled it.
Do you have any fears that there could be a few bad apples out there that could end up ruining everything for responsible drone users?
I think that's the only possibility, because honestly, there hasn't been any issues in the area, so that one would have to assume that if there were, then they would have to take more strict.
What do you like about flying drones?
Oh my God, it's so much fun. I love flying the drone. I don't know. There's a lot that goes along with it, and to be honest, it's a whole new knowledge gap that I never knew before. I didn't grow up in aviation. My cousin's pilot for Delta, flies international, but I had no clue about airspace. I had no clue about wind and temperature and how it affects flight, and just understanding a visual of visual cues and everything. There's so much about it that I didn't know, and now just being able to fly the thing around. My sons and I go out and we do little flights, and it's like a family adventure for us while we can get the pictures and the videos and put them together to make a cool little story. So it's a lot of fun, and it's a family event for me. So. And
you kind of mentioned all the regulations that you have to go through just now. If the city added on regulations, just how much more stress would that kind of put into this?
Yeah, that's the problem. Is I think the majority of people that would be doing things wrong wouldn't be commercial. So you would be regulating the people that aren't going to do anything wrong anyway, right? So that's the problem. Is the people you want to regulate are the people that aren't commercial, because I have more to lose. I'm a commercial pilot, I'm insured, I have the ability to lose my certification. All of my clients that I work for are people that I do business for, as well as, my name. So that's the people that you don't really want to regulate. It's the other people that, ultimately would be the ones you'd want to get.
So why are we hear first off?
Yeah, we had a meeting last, I think it was late summer, and there were some concerns about drone use and whether or not it could be problematic in city parks or city property, and should we be considering some sort of regulation.
Now,
And there was a backlash to that, stay out of our business, it's a free world and all that stuff. And we just kind of let it slide for half a year to kind of see what was going to happen or not happen. And basically it was not happen. We haven't had any real problems. And Chad Lemmens has been good about, he's actually worked with the park department to, do video of some events. And so the problem that we were thinking might occur has not, and I'm not hearing any push right now for any regulation at all. As far as we know right now, the city does not have an issue with misbehavior by drone operators. I invited the police department and the fire department here today. If they had some concerns, they probably would have been here. What they told me was that they've had demonstrations for their own personnel and they didn't need to come. So it was something that I think it was, good practice for us to just be aware that there could be a problem. We kind of sat back and listened, and there doesn't seem to be one. So,
Did this presentation kind of change your opinion for better or worse at all, would you say?
somewhat better. I trust that if Chad had heard of problems or misbehavior, he would have told us. And I haven't heard anything, independently. So I think until we hear something that would concern us or be of, some worry legally or safety-wise, I think we're good.
So would you say the city's kind of in wait-and-see mode when it comes to drone regulation?
As far as the Park and Rec Committee, I didn't see, we had two people who, didn't want to even, they weren't concerned enough to come out for this event. There were three of us here, and so I don't think there's too much concern about it at this time.
So just to be clear, right now there's no extra regulations when it comes to drones in the city of Wausau. But if there was an issue, could that change?
The city and county, when we were talking about it earlier, both entities asked their attorneys to look into whether other municipalities were regulating drones, and if so, what they were doing. And with the press of other business, I don't think either the city attorney or the county's corporation counsel have responded with any findings. So it just, doesn't seem to be an issue.